Hello, hello, hello. This is Coach Viv once again, and this week we have another guest. And for those who are my Facebook followers, you're already aware who April is. But for those who don't know April, believe it or not, I met April at the airport. Yep, that's where I met her. Coming back from a flight from Texas, from Houston, Texas, I met April at the airport. And we became friends since then. And we are business partners. I guess you could call us that, business partners, because we're in the same company together. And as you can tell, we're going to have a grand time tonight. So she is a bundle of joy. She's so helpful, and I'm so grateful and honored to have her in my life and have so much knowledge because she's a nurse. You're a nurse practitioner or
I'm a PA actually in
oh,
pathology.
PA. Okay. Well, she will introduce herself and tell you all about herself. So, April, welcome. I really appreciate you taking your time out and joining us today and just share with the audience who you are, what you're all about, and so forth. Let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah. Well, thank you so much, Miss Vivian. And totally true. We met in an airport, literally sitting at a gate. And so I think either I had swag on or you had swag on. I can't remember, but
Right.
we met and found out we were both East Coasters. So April Renicky, I have been a PA in pathology for almost 20 years. So just like other physician extenders that you might know of, like I'm specifically trained to sort of assist a pathologist who's a special kind of doctor that's in the laboratory of a hospital. So we receive specimens from all over the hospital, doesn't matter where they get removed from. And so I take parts and pieces of people and the products of their surgeries, and I process and handle those. And so I can also do autopsies and frozen sections and a couple other procedures. But yeah, medicine and health have just always been a passion of mine. And I knew from very early on that I wanted to go into medicine and to do something to help people. So I've been doing that for almost 20 years. I actually started it kind of started as a side hobby and turned into a side business in 2020.
Right. Yeah.
Because if any of you are in healthcare, you know how crazy 2020 was. And I realized I needed a plan B. So, just lots of crazy things. My hospital ended up laying off a lot of people. And so I just watched people
Wow.
getting walked out the door for no reason other than people in the C-suite far away made bad choices. So I started, my company basically offers pulsed electromagnetic field therapy and red light therapy to horses, humans. I've worked with dogs. I have worked with a rabbit, camels, like any kind of creatures. And it's just sort of like an alternative therapy, I guess you could call it, that deals with energy and kind of giving energy and giving the body, good blood flow and energy that the cells and tissues need to repair themselves. And so when I heard about LifeVantage, which was probably almost 3 years ago now, which is a little crazy,
Wow.
some of these little like jazz words that you guys have probably talked about in some of your other sessions, so kind of hit home and resonated with me. So now I do this as well. And that's how I'm a business partner with Vivalent. So that's fun.
Oh, that's so cool. And I love the part that she works on horses. That's the part I love that and I love well, anyway, we're not going to go off on this energy thing, but we're going to stay focused tonight. I wanted to share a little bit about your testimony. What drew you to these products and what made you make that decision to say, hey, I'm going to try these products?
Probably a couple of things. First, that it was a person who I respected and trusted who kind of introduced this to me. She's a friend of mine and had been myself and my horse's chiropractor for many years. And so it was someone that I trusted and that I knew would have, done the due diligence and done research and really brought me something, or wouldn't have mentioned something to me if it wasn't something that was really authentic and real. The real things that caught me when she actually talked to me were reducing oxidative stress, because with some of the energy work and some of the work I do with the PMF, I knew about oxidative stress. And it was really interesting to me that this was a way that folks could work on reducing inflammation and oxidative stress internally between sessions that I might have seen them for the PMF. So it was sort of like if I was going to do PMF, which sort of is like an outside in therapy, what LifeVantage offers and how this technology works, that it's sort of like from the inside out. Like the whole take it to make it thing is that they could have something to take in between the times I saw them. So that was probably the two big reasons that really like dinged and kind of stunk in my brain of why it seemed something to pay attention to.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question real quick to explain to the audience, just in case you said it a couple of times, PMF. Can you explain to them what PMF is?
Yeah, so PMF is pulsed electromagnetic field
Right.
therapy. So it's an old technology, really kicked off 60s, 70s with a bunch of research by NASA. But the idea is that Earth has a natural kind of frequency of an electromagnetic field, and that we
Mm-hmm.
as humans and every creature on the planet has sort of evolved to be dependent on that electromagnetic field and that frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were doing research on astronauts and space sickness and some health concerns that happen to astronauts when they, go into space. And they found that there was a hypothesis that, well, maybe some of the things that are happening to the astronauts is because we're pulling them away from the electromagnetic field of Earth. And if we
Mm-hmm.
put that back into a body, could we have a therapeutic benefit? And
Mm-hmm.
in the decades since, there's been a lot of research that has proven that to be true. And so we're basically like, if you've heard of grounding, or idea that you could, go barefoot outside, and kind of be in contact with the earth, that you can kind of absorb that
Right.
electromagnetic field.
Right.
PMF, or what I use is high power PMF, is sort of like grounding on steroids. We're
Mm-hmm.
basically in a short period of time applying a very strong but appropriate frequency of electromagnetic energy to increase blood flow, reduce inflammation, and kind of induce healing in the body.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
It's
amazing.
really fun.
I remember I remember when I thought I had a blood clog or something. They ran me to the doctor and I had to go to the hospital. And the doctor, she had me on this machine and listening to my feet. And she's like, your blood have a sound. And I'm like, really? And I'm like, wow. And it just blew my mind. I'm like, oh my God, this is really cool. But anyway, that's just my side note with the
Bodies are amazing
magnetic field.
things.
It is an amazing thing. So because of your friend who you highly respected, introduced you and told you about this product, about oxidative stress, you decided that, let me try this product. And what product was it that you tried?
So when I started with what's called the dual synergizer, which is
Okay.
the Protandim NRF2,
Uh-huh.
kind of that initial invention that Dr. McCord came up with. And that's paired with the NRF1, which is the mitochondrial activator. So I saw the research about how those two things kind of synergize and work better together. And
Mm-hmm.
so I decided to start with the dual synergizer.
Okay, cool. And what was your result for starting with the dual energizer?
Pretty crazy. So at the time that I started, I had actually just gotten off a surgical leave from my work at the
Mm-hmm.
hospital. I had actually had a torn tendon in my elbow. I had been injecting my elbows for probably about 5 years because I thought I had
Wow.
chronic tendonitis or chronic tennis elbow.
Uh,
And so it didn't matter what I did, even with all of the tools I had already. It would always seem like every 2 to 4 months I would need another injection. And so every 2 to 4 months for
uh,
about 5 years, I was going and getting my elbows injected with corticosteroids. So lo and behold, it turned out that after injecting for years, as the doctor told me that's what I should do, I found out I had a tendon that was actually torn. It just wasn't chronic inflammation. And so
wow.
I had gone in and had the surgery. They reattached it, and I had to be off work for about 2 months. So
Mm-hmm.
this is when I actually had time to sit and listen to my friend, talk to me, and I had time to meet with her. And then I started on the dual synergizer.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to work. I went back into my crazy schedule of like main hospital job, part-time hospital job, side business, having a horse that I rode multiple days a week, and having, I don't have kids, but I do have a 45-year-old man child that I take care of. So I went back to my crazy life, right? And I dug
Okay.
into my life. And because I had taken time off, and I was like, oh my God, I got to get back into this. And so I
Mm-hmm.
noticed within about 2 weeks of starting the dual synergizer, I was actually starting to wake up before my alarm. And at that point, I was getting up at like 4 or 5 a.m. to go into the first little hospital job before I would go and do my full shift at the other hospital. I
Uh-huh.
am not a morning person, have never been a morning person in my life. If I
Uh-huh.
was lucky enough to call in college to have a Saturday or a Sunday off, like I was the girl who slept till 11 or 12, like not a
Right.
morning person at all. So the idea of waking up before my alarm was like, that caught my attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then I realized, not until many months later, I was probably at least, oh, I don't know, 5 or 6 months after the surgery, like went through the summer, went through this crazy schedule, and then all of a sudden realized I hadn't needed an injection in the elbow that I didn't have surgery on. So I had this
Wow.
internal control of when I
Right.
went through this process. Because that hadn't happened in years. Like I should
Mm-hmm.
have already needed an injection. And the elbow I did have surgery on had healed beautifully, hadn't bothered me. I mean, so I was six
Wow.
months down the road and I realized I hadn't needed another injection. And in fact, I hadn't taken an NSAID in 6 months, which also
Wow.
for me as a very active person with the horseback riding and all the other things that I do, not
Right.
said was crazy. So that's kind of how the beginning of this went for me. And then that's when I had realized, like, I need to partner with this company. I need to share this with people, because if this happened to me, like, what could happen to other people? Like, it was great.
Right. That's amazing. And she's talking about Pretendum. I know a lot of people have come on and it got interviewed, and a lot of them mentioned this product. So, guys, we're not saying that this product is a miracle drug, like I said all the time. We're just saying you give the body what it needs and it will heal itself. And she's all about the body is an amazing tool that can heal itself. So she knows exactly what she's talking about. But the Pretendum one, I don't have it with me right now, but this is Pretendum number 2. She's talking about it looks just like this one.
Sometimes I have to remember which one's the white one and which one's the gray one. Like, they're really so
Yeah,
similar, you can't even
exactly.
tell.
And do you want to explain to them what's the difference between the two? What does one do versus what two does?
So NRF2 activates that NRF2 pathway, which is, it's like the gatekeeper for, I don't know, 500 or 600 different genes that are
Mm-hmm.
related to your immune system and healing, and like anti-fibrosis, anti-inflammation, like that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Where NRF1 is really relating to genes that deal with your mitochondria. So if you can
Mm-hmm.
increase activity of NRF1, what you're going to impact is getting bigger mitochondria, more efficient mitochondria. And the mitochondria are those little power plants that are inside of every single one of your cells. So if you've
Mm-hmm.
never taken a biology class or whatever, you can just imagine that inside of every cell of your body, there's this little tiny power plant, and it's just like kicking out these ATP molecules, which is like what everything in your body needs to do something.
Right.
So NRF1 is really kind of an energy related or a mitochondrial related activator.
Oh, wow. So one is activating and the other one is, how did you explain it?
Yeah, so you get more mitochondria, bigger mitochondria, and kind of like more efficient, or mitochondria that can chunk out more energy molecules, more of those
Right.
ATP molecules.
And the other one,
And the NRF2 is related to anti-inflammation, immune system, anti-fibrosis kind of things.
right. Okay. So you got it here. Now you know the difference between number 1 and number 2 and NRF2. So therefore, our bodies can activate its own NRF2 and NRF1. Am I correct?
Yes, you can
Exactly.
use natural plants, vitamins, natural compounds to sort of make processes in your body happen related to your genes. I mean, that's the whole theory of nutrigenomics, right?
I'm not in the health field, as you can tell, but I know what she's talking about because I've heard it many times. But she explains it very well because she's in the health field versus myself, who is not. So you could take her word for it, not mine. Anyway, so you've taken NRF2 and NRF1. Is there any other products have you taken?
Yeah, so actually I daily now I do what's called the Tri-Synergizer. I added
Okay.
it in because they actually make, I don't have, oh wait, maybe I do have one. I carry these with me everywhere. So they make these little packets if you do the
Mm-hmm.
Tri-Synergizer. I don't know if you can see,
Yeah, I can see.
you see
Yeah,
the
there you
lid
go.
there?
Mm-hmm.
So they do package this where the Tri-Synergizer is going to be the NRF2 that we talked about, the
Mm-hmm.
NRF1 that we talked
Mm-hmm.
about, and one more activator called NAD+. And I do these because they do have clinical data and research of what happens to different protein products. You know, they tested people's blood and all of that. And they found increased activity, or basically better results, when you put all three of these together. So I put this in the packets. You can get it in the bottles too, but personally for me, I'm on the go all of the time. And so I have them in my purse and my backpack. I'm sitting at my desk at the hospital right now. Like, I have these little puppies everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I also use the collagen every day. Liquid collagen is an amazing thing. If you've never seen the before and after photos, Vivian, or if you've ever have a chance to show folks before and after pictures of people with the collagen, it's amazing. The fact that it's a liquid hydrolyzed collagen, and it's not just a collagen, supplement. It actually
Mm-hmm.
has ingredients to help you make your own collagen, which I
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen anything else that does that. I also am currently using the Mind Body System, which is our all natural GLP-1 activator. And then I kind of pieced together a couple other things, kind of depending on the time of year or the day. Like I love the daily wellness in the wintertime. Like when everybody in this office is sick and sniffly, like I'm, sticking the daily wellness powder in my
Right.
water to try to make sure
Mhm.
I'm okay there. Sometimes if I'm feeling a little like GI weird, I might add in like the probiotic or something. Or if I'm having some eye issues, the Icy Bright product is pretty cool. It's got some good stuff
Right.
for eye health. So sometimes different day or different time of year, I might adjust, but the Tri-Synergizer, the collagen, and the Mind Body are sort of my daily things that I do every day.
So how do you find the GLP-1? What's your experience with that?
So I found in the very beginning, the weight loss was good. I'm not going to say it was like some miracle, like 50 pounds came off my body. That's not how it worked. I probably lost, I don't, maybe like 8 pounds the first month and another 8 pounds the second month.
Okay, that's
I did
good.
not change my activity level when I
Okay.
started, but I did find what it did for me personally is it really allowed me to make really better and more thoughtful choices in my portion control, which is something
Hmm.
historically for me, it was always really hard. I grew up with grandparents who were like, if it's on your plate, you better eat it or you're not leaving the table. And
Right, right, right,
just not wanting to waste food. Like I grew up in a family that didn't have a lot. And so wasting food was just bad. So portion
right.
control has always been hard for me. Or that idea of like, I'm going to eat now because I don't want to be hungry later. Like that's kind of always in my head. And being able to say no to things that I didn't need, sweets, carbs. I have a crunchy thing with like tortilla chips. You give me an option for nachos if we're out, and I'm going to take it. But what Mind Body did for me was really like it does affect, and it sounds really weird, and I
Hmm.
still don't know that I don't have a weird way to explain it, but it really does affect how you think about food. And it
Okay.
really helps kind of curb your appetite, allows you to make better choices. And eventually, what I found over time is that you really do crave good foods. Like
Hmm.
you kind of do want healthier things, and you want a lean protein, and you want some veg. And it was really funny. Like I think I started it a few weeks before Halloween week, and I am a
Hmm.
sucker for Reese's peanut butter cups. Like that is my thing. I went
Uh-huh.
all of Halloween week and didn't eat any Halloween candy. It was in the office at all of the places that I work. It was
Right.
Halloween candy everywhere, and didn't have any and didn't want any. It wasn't like I felt like
Wow.
even that I was denying myself something. I just
Right.
didn't want it.
Right.
And so over time, it's not even now. I mean, I'm happy with where I am weight wise. So I don't use MB now as a weight loss thing. For me, it's really like a mental thing. It helps
Mm.
me keep control of what I'm eating, but I also find over time it sort of levels out this amount of ruminating and overthinking that I do in my head, which is, I think,
Right.
how kind of some anxiety manifests for me. And I
Okay.
find it just helps me stay a little bit more even mentally. Like
Uh-huh.
I don't kind of go up when something kind of crazy happens or silly happens. I don't get upset by the little things anymore.
Right.
So for me, long term, it's really more about the mental health benefits of having
Hmm.
increased GLP-1. And if you do the research into GLP-1, like in your body, what it does, that's a really important factor. It's a really important thing that we're finding as more and more people are kind of using some of those synthetics. So
Wow.
yeah,
Well,
it's
I've
pretty
never
cool.
heard of someone use it just to keep their mentally or balance or stable. I never heard someone have done that before. Most people's
Yeah.
like, oh, the weight loss. I know some people have used it to help them with their sugar cravings.
Yeah.
It helps lower their sugar, their A1C. So I was like, wow, that's interesting. So I never heard from your standpoint, I never heard someone say, mentally or keeping them a balance.
Like another thing that used to happen for me is like I would, at night I might fill up a glass of water and go upstairs to go to bed. And like a lot of times you're like, oh, I'm just gonna grab a couple of pieces of chocolate and take them to bed, right? Like you might have that little fix you want at the end of the day or at the night. That
Uh,
completely went away. So I know what you're talking about when people are saying like their sugar cravings have
right.
reduced. That is something that I experienced as well,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, yeah. So that's interesting. I'll have to think about that some more about what you just said. But that's great. You lost 16 pounds overall.
That was just in the first 2 months. Yeah, there was
Yeah, that's amazing.
So it was like a couple of inches off my waist, my thighs, my arms. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was real and without increasing activity. Like I didn't change
Wow.
And I wouldn't even say that I massively changed my diet. I just really able to portion control so much more
Right.
effectively.
And no more Reese's pieces, so that's
And no more
even
Reese's
better.
peanut butter cups. Actually, I just made it through the entire circuit of horse showing in Florida. So I was there off and on from beginning of January to end of March. And our trainer kept a ton of Reese's peanut butter cups in the barn for a couple of the girls that riding. And in 3 months, I had none. Didn't want them. It was great.
You go, girl, you go. So, with all this good news that you've gotten from the Pretendum 1 and 2 and the collagen, you shared with this with anyone? Were you like really excited? Like, you're like, oh my God. Well, you did say, oh my God, I'm gonna have to get involved with this company. I'm gonna have to really see
Yeah.
what's going on. So, what made you decide to say, hey, this thing is great. I got to get involved with this company. So, what was your first step? Like, did you start sharing with your friends and family? Did you start sharing with your coworkers? Did you have everyone jumping on board? Because you're in the health field, so a lot of nurses see you and they see that you're no longer in pain. So, what was your first?
In the beginning, it was friends and family. Like I kind of like I had never done network marketing before. Never in a million years would have ever thought that this was something that I can do. And I had certainly been approached many times about things like I love Pampered Chef, but love it enough to like go have parties at night and try to hawk it to people. You know, I had been a Mary Kay girl since I was a teenager. I mean, I'm not wearing makeup now. It's no, it's not. I like the products I use with Mary Kay. I'm still a Mary Kay user for some of my products. I should have said that earlier. I do use the skincare system for LifeVantage too, but not enough that I ever would have done Mary Kay as a business. Like I wasn't passionate about any of those things. So starting with friends and family made it a lot easier. I had a really cool experience in sharing the NRF2 with my dad, which has
Talk
been an
about that. Talk
amazing.
about that because I think it's a great story. Talk about that.
It's an amazing story. So my dad progressively for a number of years has sort of had problems like ambulating or walking. So I live on the East Coast. My entire family lives in Iowa where I grew up. So I might see my dad like twice a year, you know, depending on how the year goes, if I get home or if we take a family vacation or something. So he had been sort of having this trouble with like the swollen foot, and he'd talk about like he couldn't flex it and he was tripping, or he'd scrape it on the ground and he'd have an open wound or something. And so I didn't fully appreciate how much this was like affecting his daily life. And it's not exactly like he's just going to spill the beans to me all the time. So not very long after I got involved with LifeVantage, actually, we were going home for the holidays. And apparently my baby sister, who lives across the street from him, had given him the riot act about being careful about being out in the garage because he lives by himself and he has a detached garage and it's a cement floor. And he had fallen apparently a couple times and I didn't know. And she had kind of given him the riot act of like, she was really uncomfortable with him being in the garage that winter by himself because she didn't want one of her girls to come over to the house and like find him hurt, injured. You know, he'd fallen and something bad had happened. And so unbeknownst to me was sort of hibernating in his house that winter, having trouble getting around. It had gotten to the point that by the time I got home, he really wasn't going even up and down the stairs very much.
Wow.
I mean, he was really like, his world got a lot smaller. He was having such a hard time getting around. And so I kind of got a little bit of wind of this from my sister before I came home. And I was like, hey, Dad, like, I don't know if this thing that I found could help you, like, but I found this thing. I don't even really know what's going on with you, but I'll bring some home with me if you're open, or I'll come home and talk to you about it. So I get home because he was like sort of positive and open. And I got home and I was like, look, I can tell you about this thing because like science nerd, if you haven't figured it out already, like I was really to like word vomit all over him, right? And he's like, no, like if this is something that you are positive about, April, I'll try it, right? So I gave him the Nerf 2, like just one a day. We didn't do anything crazy and we didn't like preload or do a loading dose or anything like that. A few days later, like, because we were going to be home for about a week on this trip. And a few days later, a couple of my nephews had sporting events a couple towns over. It just so happened they were both playing in the same town. And we were excited because we could go from one event to the other. And I'm not thinking like I'm just going to the event and not really paying attention to my dad. And we went to the first one, which was a wrestling meet, which means we had to go up and down the bleachers, which he did. And I wasn't paying attention. And it didn't occur to me that that was weird. And then the second event was a basketball game. And so we get back to his house at the end of the night. It was a little late and I hadn't ridden home in the same car as him. So when we got to the house and we're in his house, it's basically him and me and then my fiance. And he is just like giddy. And I'm like, Dad, what is like, why are you so like, blah, like you're spazzy? What's going on? He's like, I walked up and down the bleachers. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course you did. Like, why wouldn't
Right.
you have walked up and down the bleachers? And he's like, no, I haven't walked up and downstairs for a while because he's like, I couldn't bend my leg at the hip. And I'm like, wait a second. I thought we were talking about like a bad foot. And now you're telling
Hmm.
me like he walked up and down the bleachers and he was all excited. And I was like, okay, great. So then a couple more days later, so maybe we were like 5 or 6 days in and we were not very far from going home. We're sitting in his house the one night and he's all excited. He's like, April, I moved my toe. I'm like, wait, what? He's like, yeah. So he's like, I haven't been able to move my toe up. He's like, I could flex it, but I couldn't extend it like more than like a wiggle. I haven't
Oh
been able
my
to move
God.
up. And he's like, I can move it a centimeter. And I'm like, okay, that's good. But my
Yeah.
mental brain is now stirring because now I'm starting to figure out that there's a lot more going on with
Right.
him than what I thought. And so here, like, he's all excited. So he keeps taking it. We come back home. Within a couple weeks, he starts taking walks with my baby sister during the day because she has a dog that she has to walk like a couple times a day. So he just starts with like a loop or two around the block. And within a couple months, he was doing walks on the trail with my sister. And his physical
Wow.
therapist at the VA basically said, like, take a break from physical therapy. You're doing really well,
Wow.
whatever. So within a couple of months, he got to a point from being like secluding himself in his house because he was afraid he was going to fall to I'm now going out on walks on the trail with my daughter and the dog. So it's now, I don't remember, maybe it's been a couple of years now that he's been on it. I'm not going to say he's
Uh-huh.
perfect. He's not, but he hasn't really deteriorated anymore. Like before per tandem, there had been like a downward progression for him of
Right.
his ambulating, but now he's sort of steady state. He has ups and downs. Like if something flares in his health, the leg gets a little worse periodically, but like it always comes back to sort of what this new baseline is for him. And so
Uh-huh.
that's been really amazing for my family because I think my
Wow.
baby sister was, really concerned that like her daughters were going to end up with a grandpa that was really debilitated. And now he gets to kind of go outside and still kind of be normal grandpa with them. It's
Oh.
good.
Oh, that's amazing. That's such a great story. That's why I had to make you tell it because I heard some of it before. And that's just amazing that it did that for him. I know he was so happy because he probably was feeling all alone and, depressed that he couldn't be
Yeah.
active. And now it gave him back his mobility and he can able to go on trails, walk around the block, hang out with friends, whatever grandpa does. That's
It's
just amazing. And I'm just so excited. And the collagen, real quickly, what's your experience with that? Because you say you take the collagen also.
I do. So I would say the thing I noticed took me a couple of months of taking collagen. But what happened was is I ended up on a flight and I flew home and I was flying my first red eye flight, which I had never done before. So I have varicose veins. I
Mhm.
literally have a medical textbook of things that are happening with me. It's like so crazy, but I do have varicose veins. And so over time, I noticed that sometimes the diameter of my legs can ebb and flow a little bit. Like, and I know this from putting on riding boots because sometimes it's
Uh-huh.
easier to get the riding boots on or not. So I took this flight, came home on a red eye, and of course I tried to sleep. So I didn't do my normal thing where I get up on the plane every so often and like walk around the plane or do my leg exercises or whatever. So it was maybe a day or two after that flight, and I remembered kind of just noticing my legs just looked a little full. And I'm like, oh God, like my legs are still swollen from that flight. Like I need to either
Right.
like get my compression socks back out or do something. And then it was another couple of days because I was busy and wasn't really paying attention.
Hmm.
And I happened to have glanced at my legs and I was like, God, they're still swollen. I was like, that flight was like, 4 or 5 days ago.
Right.
That's crazy.
Uh-huh.
And then I looked and I was like, yeah, but wait, my feet aren't swollen and my ankles aren't swollen. And I looked a little closer and I realized that it wasn't that my legs were swollen. It was just that my skin like puffed up a little bit. Like it wasn't all thin and creepy and like dry and like middle agey anymore. Like I don't know how else to explain it, but it was like my skin got fluffy, which totally sounds weird. But like the skin of my legs got a little thicker. It was just in my legs that I noticed it. But over time, like I've noticed, it plumps up in your face a little bit too. And I can't say like I didn't have a ton of wrinkles that I could say I watched go away. I mean, I'm
Right,
in
right,
my early
right.
to mid 40s, and so I didn't have that experience. But I noticed that my leg skin got thicker, which is a weird story. But yeah, so go buy collagen, everybody, because it makes your leg skin thicker. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
I love it.
Oh,
Your leg skin got thicker. I love
right?
it.
Feel
Only
like,
you, April.
oh my
I
gosh.
love it. So So we talked about the Pretendum 1, we talked about Pretendum 2, the effect that it had on you and your father. We talked about the collagen, leg got thicker, and we talked about, which one was it? The
The
collagen,
body a
the
little bit.
GLP-1.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are great products, and you explained it well of what he did for you and for your family. Now, what would you say to those who are questioning, can this really work for me? Work for you, but can this really work for me? What would you say to those individuals who's on the fence of saying maybe that's good for you, but cannot really would do the same for me?
I mean, the thing is that every human, okay, so even if we're just talking about Nerf 2, the Protandim, now I say to folks I know, like, it is just the basis for everything. Like, if you're thinking about any way, shape, or form of trying to improve your health, or you're thinking about doing something better for yourself, like, Nerf 2 is just a baseline thing that if I won the lottery, I would give it to everyone that I care about and love,
Wow.
because
Wow.
everybody has a Nerf 2 pathway. Like, every
Right.
single person has one. And for people who kind of question or aren't really sure, I show them the research. Like, you can go on to PubMed, you can go on to, any place that Google Scholar is another good place to go. If you're really looking for real research, not just, somebody's trying to show you some marketing material or telling you a great story. For those kind of people, I say, like, this is what happened to me. I absolutely cannot promise to you that what it will do for you, but I can show you what the science says.
Uh-huh.
I can show you what the clinical studies have shown, that when they've used these items and these products on multiple groups of people, and then someone just has to decide for themselves, honestly. But I mean, none of the things that I have tried or that I've seen with LifeVantage, none of it can hurt you. So, why not give it a try? If there's something that you're really honestly trying to fix or trying to combat, like, why not try it?
I love that. Why don't you give it a try?
Why don't you
Why
give it
don't you just give it a try? You
You can't
just see
hurt
what happens. It's not going to hurt because it's all natural. All the ingredients are there. 5 ingredients is,
Yeah. So simple.
and
Like,
it's
there isn't
here. It's
anything
just
in there that can hurt you.
exactly. So they perfectly put them together that they're able to work effectively. Because some people are like, oh, I go into a store and I buy all those ingredients, but that doesn't mean that it's going to work the way you think it's going to work. You have to be able to know scientifically how to put those ingredients together for it to be synergized enough to
Yeah,
work.
honestly, like, I just don't have the time to go and find every single little ingredient that you're supposed to find and know the exact amount of it that you're supposed to use.
Yeah.
And or, like, you're supposed to eat however many vegetables. I mean, I just don't have the time. And so if I could, kind of piggyback off of and benefit from someone else's science that was done, and, take a pill that I just take with water. I just have to remember to do it every day, because that's my problem, is remembering to do it every day.
Exactly.
But, it's easier for me than trying to, like, quote unquote biohack my supplements myself. Like, why?
Right.
When research and the science was already done and it's already proven that it worked. So why
Right.
why reinvent the wheel when it's already there for you?
Exactly. And sometimes these ingredients it can be very expensive. So it's, you get it in one place and then done and you're good to go. And that's it.
Well, and the thing that I didn't realize too, until I had kind of met a couple of people and kind of gone down this rabbit hole, is I didn't realize, because I just didn't know, even as a healthcare professional, I didn't know that, like, if you go to work, like Walmart, Target, the vitamin shop, like wherever you're going to buy, and say you're just going to buy, vitamin D, right? And the bottle says that there's supposed to be 5,000 IUs of vitamin D in each pill. They
Hmm.
don't actually have to prove it. And I didn't know that. Like, no one's double
No,
checking it. And
no,
also, there's very little double checks for most of those companies, that it not only that it's just the right amount of the good thing that you are looking for, but that it doesn't have any bad things or contaminants in it either. Like, it's
exactly.
the wild, wild west. And I
Exactly.
didn't really fully realize that. And so, knowing that, LifeVantage does such a good job, and they are so on top of manufacturing and the ingredients and the purity and efficacy of the ingredients, and making sure that all that stuff, and it's not just that LifeVantage says it, like, they have all those, like the NSF and the other certifications and the other testing, the third party testing.
Hmm.
So I actually trust that what they say is what they're doing. I really
Right.
do.
Right, right. That's because we're a publicly traded company. We gotta be transparent. We are transparent, and
Mhm.
we have to back up everything that we say. And trust me, LifeVantage is a stickler. I'm telling you for everything. So being that I'm new, I'm experiencing it. I'm like, oh, you guys are too good for your own good. So that's what I say sometimes. So anyway, so any last words that you have for our audience, like any encouragement, just anything you want to say?
I mean, if someone that you kind of know and trust is talking about something, listen to the story. And if you really think that the person is talking from their heart, like be open-minded and listen. And if that means you want to do a little bit of research, that's fine. Personally, I don't think I'm smarter than the people who would have written almost 30 clinical studies, but if you think you are, great. But okay, so go do a little digging on one of the websites about the research and then give it a try. Like, honestly, there isn't anything in any of those products that we've talked about or any of the other products I've seen with LifeVantage that's harmful. So if you're even remotely trying to fix an issue or you're remotely trying to do something better about your health, like, there are way worse quackeries on the internet try.
Uh-huh.
So I guess one's trusted, it's science based. And if the interesting thing is, and sometimes this is a hard thing to explain to people, just because this story happened for me or this story happened for Vivian, it
Hmm.
may not be exactly what happens for you. Like, you have to be
Right.
really careful about your preconceived notions about, like, it may not fix a problem that you're trying to fix, but be open-minded that it might help some other things that your body knew was wrong with you, but maybe you hadn't acknowledged was wrong with you.
So
And so
true. So
that's been the really another really interesting thing is, like, someone might come to me for a particular thing and we might try a product and they're like, oh, that thing kind of got better, but X, Y, and Z got a lot better. Like, it's
right,
been really
right.
funny how different things can happen to different people.
Yeah, it's so true because I've been doing these interviews now for months, and I don't think anyone has said the same thing. It
Oh, that's
helps
so
with talking
funny.
out. It does help with so many different things. I'm like, oh my God, like it's just amazing. So you're right. It doesn't matter. It might happen this way for one person, it might happen that way for another person. So you just need to give your body the right things and it will perform accordingly. And like April says, just try it. It's not going to hurt. It's all natural. Just try it. So if you want to know how to try it, we'll send our information at the bottom of this YouTube channel. So thank you so much for joining us. Shalom, shalom. Thanks, April.
Thank you.